Everyone, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you being here in the video on the channel. So today we're going to be talking about the retirement checklist. You're close to retirement. What is the checklist that you need to have completed by retirement dates? Okay, before we dive in, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll just get straight into it. Okay, so we've been on this journey with Mike and Rachel. We started back when they were 10 years out from retirement. Now they're a year out. They're 12 months away from retiring. And there's five checks that we need to make on the checklist for Mike and Rachel before they're confident in retiring. And thing number one on that checklist is they just need to pick a retirement date. Okay, specific day on the calendar needs to be on the calendar. Can't be loose. I think this month, maybe, depending on how I feel. If I have a bad day at work, I might push it up. If I have a good day, maybe I'll push it back. No, it needs to be a date. Okay, and this will also help your advisor knowing the date because they'll be able to position your investments accordingly because they're going to be feeding you income from these investments. They need to know at the exact date when that needs to start. Okay, so pick the retirement date. Once you have that, thing number two to check off is the exact retirement income per annual per month. If you recall the first video in the series, when Mike and Rachel were 10 years out, we were figuring out their number. Okay, and I mentioned in that video, determining what exactly their monthly spend is, we're kind of like throwing a dart at the board today because they're 10 years out. There's some things that we're assuming, and preferably when we throw the dart, we're hitting the board. But as Mike and Rachel get closer to retirement, we're going to be able to hit a bullseye because we're going to be closer to the board, if that makes sense. That was the first video. Now they're 12 months out from retirement. They're close to retirement. So it should be pretty easy. It might take a little bit of time, but it should be pretty easy for them to know, hey, this is the income that we need next year when we retire, just based off of current living, what we projected healthcare to be, and our travel. We have it fine-tuned. This is the number we need. Okay, so make sure thing number two, monthly income, is tightened up. Okay, number three, you want to make sure that legal documents are taken care of. Everything legal. You have updated beneficiaries on all the investments, all the properties, all the assets. You have the will, trust, powers of attorneys updated. And here at Fiducia, we have a software that allows us to compile some of like the powers of attorneys, the last will and testament, basic trusts, advanced trusts with clients. Just a value add. Your advisor might have this as well if they're independent. But this essentially allows us to get some of the basic estate planning documents in force without needing necessarily a attorney to do so and them billing their own fees for doing it. Okay, so make sure that this stuff is buttoned up, it's updated, because as time goes on, those documents, beneficiaries on accounts tend to get outdated. So you want to make sure before you retire, everything's up to date from a legal beneficiary standpoint. Okay, so God forbid something happens, money, assets, property, investments are going exactly where you and spouse intended them to go. Okay, so fourth thing, know how you will spend your time in retirement. Okay, this is a critical one. Don't retire before knowing how you're going to spend your time in retirement. Okay, and you might be thinking, well, I'm not going to have a to-do list. I'm not even thinking about that. When I retire, it's going to be a celebration, right? Like I'm just going to go day to day and see where it takes me. You want to know how you're going to be spending your time. You want to stay active physically, be progressing, spiritually, whatever it is for you. You want to make sure that you know, hey, this is how I'm going to be spending some of my time in retirement. I don't need to have the full day booked out every single day, but these are some of the things I'm going to be doing. Because if you don't have that in your life, let's think of the inverse. You make it to retirement, you don't have anything planned, you wake up the next day, let me hit snooze on my alarm. In fact, why do I have an alarm to begin with? Let me just turn it off. Okay. You wake up at 11 a.m., roll out of bed, walk down the stairs. You greet your wife, and your spouse asks you, hey, what do you plan on doing today? You're like, I don't know. I was going to watch the news, maybe sit on the deck, sit in the sun, maybe have a drink, just see where the day takes me. And you do that for the day, don't really get too much done. By the end of the day, you reflect on what you did that day. It wasn't really too much. And you wake up the next day to do the exact same thing. And then the exact same thing, right? Like that is not a fulfilling retirement. People need purpose. Even though you might be retired, people need purpose, right? Your purpose doesn't go away when you retire. So make sure you have not day planned out to the hour, to the minute, but you have an idea of how you're going to be spending your time in retirement. Very critical. Okay. Thing number 5 on the checklist. This might be one of the most underutilized, undervalued tools when working with an advisor. Ask your advisor if they can connect you with 3 to 5 of their retiree clients. Okay, preferably 10 plus years into retirement. And pick their brain. Pick their brain on what they feel they did right in retirement, what they feel they did wrong. What would they have changed? How do they spend their day-to-day now? How did that differ than the first 10 years in retirement? Just pick their brain on their perception of retirement. Because if you think about retirement, it's really one of the first times where you're kind of on your own, right? In childhood, you have your parents grooming you to do right and wrong, disciplining you, right? In university schooling, you have teachers grooming you, telling you what you need to do by this due date. In your career, you have your employer mentors telling you, grooming you, hey, this is right, this is wrong, what success looks like, what success doesn't look like. Now you're at retirement, there's no one telling you that. It's really the first time in your life where you have an open architect to kind of make it how you want. So solicit feedback from people that have been there or done that. And like I said, it's one of the most underutilized, undervalued tools that your advisor can provide you, because remember this, your advisor has a bunch of clients, hopefully, and their clients' hindsight is your foresight. Your advisor's clients, their hindsight is your foresight. So you can just extract 10, 15 years worth of retirement life from picking 3 to 5 people's brains on retirement. And you can figure out, hey, that sounds good. I kind of want to follow what this person did, but I want to avoid this and this. It sounded like this caused them years of headache, right? So thing number 5, pick the brains of those who have been there, done that. And it's very easy to do when you have an advisor. Their client's hindsight is your foresight. So this is the retirement checklist. We've been on this journey with Mike and Rachel. They're approaching retirement. They're here. Congrats, Mike. Congrats, Rachel. Much deserved retirement. And stay tuned to the next series. It'll be bigger and it'll be better. Until next time.